All right, guys, it's time for lesson 3 video. I want to do a shout out right now to Peyton Sheaves. Peyton Sheaves, you can see I got my phone turned from this way to this way, so it should be better. Taking Peyton Sheaves' advice. Also, shout out to Wesleyan. We were there at West Virginia Wesleyan yesterday for a campus visit. Me and Indy, Miss Persinger, and Cy, we were all up there to view the college and talk to coaches up there. So it's our little shout out to West Virginia Wesleyan. All right, this is our 3rd lesson. The first 2 lessons, let's just backtrack just for real quickly. You learned about the preamble. You know that it has 6 goals in it that the founding fathers wanted to at least accomplish or strive to accomplish with this new Constitution. We learned about the separation of powers and how powers are shared between federal government and state governments. And then we learned about the 3 branches of government, what they do, and how they're set up with checks and balances to keep one branch from becoming too powerful. Now, the last little lesson in this little unit that we're going to learn about is the Constitution and how it is a flexible living document. And I have my own living document to show you. You can see, to activate your brain, I'm going to read you a love poem, a living document on Office 365. I love a couple things. I love Edgar Allan Poe. If you haven't read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe's work, it's really good stuff. He was a twisted, dark person. He was the first Stephen King, the first Dean Koontz, but he was a great writer. He wrote a poem called Annabelle Lee, and it had a really unique rhyme scheme to it. So I think I wrote this poem back in college and used Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe as kind of like the example for it, more of a parody of it, I guess. So number 1, I like Edgar Allan Poe, but number 2, on guard, on guard. I love learning about the Anglo-Saxons, the Danes, the Celtic warriors, the Vikings, sword fights, all of those things. And in fact, I've been watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix. It's a series that goes with that era and that time and that age. And I just really like those kinds of things. So when I wrote this love poem, I wrote this love poem in a Celtic, not Celtic, it would be a Danish setting, a Danish Viking setting, where the great Viking Danish warrior Wulfdane the Great writes a love poem to the Princess Anna le Fay. So I have it right here. I printed this off of Microsoft Office 365. I want to show you something about it first. Number 1, it has a preamble, just like our Constitution. Of course, it's not goals or anything, but it just sets up the story. It's like an introduction. So I'm going to read that to you first. Anna le Fay, the preamble, the introduction. I'll leave my hat on. True love is a beauty to behold, is the phrase often repeated as the ages unfold. Epic heroes, brave warriors on the outside they may be. They have hearts for love as romantic as the sea. Wulfdane the Mighty was no stranger to this plight, and to see the warrior enslaved by romance was truly a sight. From ages past, in times of old, a love poem from Wulfdane to the Princess Anna yearns to be told. And that is the introduction. Now we will get down to the poem itself. Parody of Edgar Allan Poe's Annabelle Lee. Anna le Fay, my princess beauty by the sea, my love for you is as strong as your love for me. No woman in this world has made me feel this way, the way that you make me feel, my lovely Anna le Fay. I've traveled far and I've fought monsters and men, but this love for you I've battled and I cannot win. Your spirit engulfs me like waves crashing on the beach, and whenever you're not with me, you seem so far out of reach. Up on my ship, the sails can steer her my way, but your soul cannot be turned, beautiful Anna LaFay. Your determination is as brave as a battle axe, and I am marked with your love like the battle scars on my back. I dream of our life together, a marriage ceremony in the King's Hall. I propose this for you, perhaps this fall. My dear, it's up to you, either yea or nay. What is thy answer, wondrous Anna LaFay? By my sword I know what you will declare. Yes will be your answer, my princess so fair. For me no other woman will ever do. No one sparks my desire like the lady in you. Forever is how long I want you to stay. I will honor our wonderful life together, dearest Anna LaFay. The end. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Coach, he's got to come up with something for this. Why in the world is he reading a love poem to us about civics? But let's talk about it just a second. Look at what I told you. This poem has been typed on Office 365. It's a living document. I printed it out a while ago. I'll show you the printed copy. It's right there. You know what I can do to that? I can go back in on Office 365 and, I can print that. I can edit it. I can make changes to it. I can delete part of it. After reading it, I probably should delete all of it because it's not very good. But there's a reason why I read that and explained that to you. The Constitution of the United States of America symbolically is an Office 365 document. Now you say, why is that, Coach? Well, here's why. It is a living document like that poem. I can make changes to it. The Constitution is a living document that we can make changes or additions to. Now, unlike Office 365, which a delete button is easy to hit, you can copy and paste and cut and drag things in there real quickly. Unlike Office 365, to make changes to the Constitution, well, it's not that easy. It's pretty difficult to do. In fact, since the Constitution was created, there's only been 27 total additions made to it in 230 some years. And the first 10 amendments were added to the Constitution before the people would ever even ratify it. So if you think about that, then that means that there's only been 17 changes to the Constitution in over 230 years. It is not easy to do, but it can be changed. So let's take out those notes. The last thing that you should have down in your notes is vocabulary word number 12, veto. Veto. That should be your last thing you have. So now we're going to add in the very last two essential questions from this unit, which would be EQ 5 and 6, and we'll put in these 4 vocabulary words. So let's get to it. I'm going to scroll this up so it's on the board, and I'm going to show you. Right there it is. Why is the Constitution considered a living document? It's flexible and it's changing. It can be edited. It's got 7 articles in it and 27 total amendments to date. Now, let's go back where you can pause that so you can copy that down. Okay, we're back. Now, why did I say to date? Well, that's pretty easy to think about. In your lifetime, I can almost guarantee you that you're going to see Amendment 28. There's only 27 so far. There's only been 2 amendments done in my lifetime. Amendment 26, which happened in early 1970s. It lowered the voting age from 21 down to 18. That's why many of you seniors get to register to vote when you're 18 years old. And you, as an 18-year-old senior, can vote in this upcoming 2020 presidential election. It used to be 21, But a man named Jennings Randolph fought for years trying to get this changed because soldiers were going to war, soldiers were dying who were 18, 19 years old, and they couldn't even vote. And this amendment was added to the Constitution. I was alive to see it. I was 4, so I didn't know it. But the other amendment, 27, was added in the 1990s. I do remember when that was changed. And basically it allows Congress, if they vote for a pay increase, it doesn't take effect until the next Congress is elected in. So that way, in essence, they can't vote for themselves a pay raise. Because I know if I could vote for a pay raise, I know that for myself, I would be like, I vote yes. I want a pay raise. Now, let's take a look at EQ number 6. I told you a while ago that making changes to the Constitution was not very easy. So how are amendments passed to the Constitution? This is EQ number 6. It tells us right here. You can pause that and write that down. How are amendments to the Constitution passed? It's not easy. Or as like we like to say in Hick Talk, it ain't easy. It's not easy. It takes 2/3 of Congress to agree to an amendment. That's 66.6%. And it takes 3/4 of the states, for you math people, that's 75%. It takes both of those things to get an amendment added to the Constitution or a change to the Constitution to be made. It's hard to get those things. For example, the original Constitution, it did not allow women to vote. But 100 years ago, a lot of women went out and fought very hard for women's suffrage. And 3/4 of the states agreed. 2/3 of Congress agreed. And Amendment 19 was added to the Constitution, which gave women the right to vote. And for the record, I agree. We finally got it right. The Constitution was wrong. You should allow women to vote. There's no reason why that you shouldn't have done that to begin with. So those are just some examples of things that was one example of things that can be changed in the Constitution and how our country and government went about to do that. You hear rumors today. Some people want a change to the Constitution made so that the Electoral College is not what decides who wins the presidential vote in the presidential election. They want the popular vote to count. So in order to do that, if they were ever going to change that, they have to make this change to the Constitution. And they would have to do so through an amendment. And you already know it ain't easy because it takes 2/3 of Congress to agree to it and 3/4 of the states to agree to it. Let's go down to a couple vocabulary words that we have to put in. We'll do 2 at a time. What exactly is an amendment? It's an edit. The Constitution has been edited. It's been changed. Something's been added to it. That's an amendment. It's a change or an addition to the Constitution. And like I just told you, sometimes we have to fix stuff. Maybe the Constitution wasn't right when it was created, and we have to fix it now. And that's what makes our living document, the U.S. Constitution, probably one of the most unique government documents in all of the world, because we can change it. We do have the power to go back and fix something. Think about and I'll give you another example. Think about the issue of slavery and how slavery was used not only in colonial times, but even in our country's early existence. And Amendment 13 was added, or a change was added to the Constitution in Amendment 13 that abolished this horrible institution of slavery and done away with it. It took our country a while to get to that point. And Amendment 13 was added. It was passed by 2/3 of Congress, 3/4 of the states. And Amendment 13 abolished this horrible institution of slavery forever. So that's another example of something that our country got right later And we were able to do so because our Constitution can be changed because it's a living document, like this love poem. The next vocabulary word means to repeal. It means, repealed means to take back or do away with. If you looked up the Constitution, there's a copy of it in our textbook, you will see that Amendment 18 has lines through it where it was crossed out. And if you guys can go back to Coach Halsey's class last year, you remember Amendment 18. It was called prohibition. Now you remember what was prohibited with prohibition. Alcohol. You couldn't make it, you couldn't transport it, you couldn't sell it. So technically, if you couldn't do those three things, nobody should have it. You learned in Coach Halsey's class, hopefully, that you learned all of this, that prohibition was blatantly ignored by most Americans, and people drank anyway. And the government was spending countless resources, countless funds, counts of dollars, just trying to track down people who were bootlegging liquor and moonshine. And finally, after about 10 years of that, the government decided that they needed to do away with, or repeal Amendment 18. So Amendment 21 is another change to the Constitution. And Amendment 21 repealed or did away with prohibition, and it made alcohol legal again. So that's an example of a repeal. Let's take a look at the last few words in our notes. Put it here. Cabinet. Now, the presidential cabinet is not where President Trump keeps his peanut butter. The presidential cabinet is the president's official advisors. They help carry out the laws. They help execute them. The cabinet is the president's official advisors. He gets to appoint those people, but check the Senate. Remember checks and balances? Check! The Senate has to approve each one of his appointees. And he appoints these people as chairman or secretaries of each one of the 15 executive departments that help run the country. And we're going to learn about those 15 executive departments in a later unit. But for example, there's the Department of Defense, and there is the Department of Transportation. There are 15 of those kind of departments that help the president run the country and carry out all of the laws. So he gets to appoint a chairman for each one of those departments. They're known as secretaries. And those are the people that are on the presidential cabinet. The last word is the U.S. Constitution itself. Now, I forgot to actually put that one on our little, I'm trying to get our screen shrunk down here. Hang on just one second. There we go. Got it now. I didn't add this to our content map at the beginning of the unit, but we have to know a definition for the U.S. Constitution. It's the official document that sets the framework for our government. It basically is the outline for how our government is going to be set up and how it's going to run. And it can be changed. Now, I don't know about you, but when you get a brand new textbook, the first thing you do is you look in the table of contents because you want to see how many chapters are in this book. So I wrote down the table of contents here for us to take a look at for the Constitution. And it's the last thing that we're going to put in our notes for this whole unit. Let me turn the screen around. The table of contents. The first thing, you already know what the first thing is. It's the introduction. It's the preamble. That's the first thing in the U.S. Constitution, and it establishes the goals that our founding fathers wanted to accomplish. Then there are 7 articles. Article 1 talks about how the legislative branch and Congress is going to be set up. Article 2 talks about the executive branch and the office of the presidency and how he goes about carrying out the laws and enforcing them. Article 3 talks about the judicial branch and how the United States Supreme Court is set up. And boy, isn't that in the news right now. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a woman who was a justice on the Supreme Court, has passed away last week. And in case you didn't know this, Supreme Court justices are not elected officials. We don't vote for them. You know who gets to appoint them? The president. But check! The Senate has to confirm every appointee the president does, whether it's for his cabinet or a federal judge or a justice on the Supreme Court. And I'd like to take a moment to shout out to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who served our country as a Supreme Court justice for many decades. And she was an advocate for women's rights in her decisions that she made as one of the 9 people on the Supreme Court. And we cannot forget the legacy that she left behind. But now, since there is a vacancy there, President Trump has the power to appoint a Supreme Court justice to replace her. But check, the Senate has to approve it. And the Senate right now is controlled by Republicans. But it'll be an interesting battle the rest of this fall as we watch how that plays out in Congress and how the Democrats are trying to keep that from happening. And of course, the Republicans and Trump want to appoint another person to the Supreme Court. So watch the news and pay attention to that. And pay attention to that political struggle that's going to be happening in D.C. there. But let's go back. Article 4, the Founding Fathers wrote about relationships between the states. In Article 5, it sets up how an amendment or a change or an addition can be made to the Constitution. Article 6 talks about national debt and how the federal government is the supreme national law of the land, meaning that the federal government is superior to state governments. Article 7 is where everyone had to ratify or officially give its official approval of its Constitution. That's where they all signed it in their agreement, and all the states had to vote on this new Constitution. And remember, I told you that the Constitution wasn't so readily accepted by those original 13 states, and people demanded and kind of said, hey, look, if you want the federal government to have this much power, then you better add a Bill of Rights to the Constitution to help protect the people. So before the original 13 states would ratify this new Constitution, they had to go back and put the first 10 amendments to it, which are known as, the first 10 amendments are known as the Bill of Rights, and we'll be going over them in the next amendment, not the next amendment. Geez, it's been a long day. In the next unit. But after Article 7 is the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. After that, in the table of contents for the Constitution, are the rest of the amendments, Amendments 11 through 27. And you can see I put down here with a big question mark in red. Amendment 28? Maybe someday you will see an amendment added to the United States Constitution. And when you read about that, and that you might be 35 years old, and that little scroll ticker will scroll across your screen on your phone, and you'll look down and say, Amendment 28 added to the Constitution today. And you'll think about me in civics and go, Coach Eads told me this day was going to happen. And even then, 15 years from now, I'll still be in your head with civics. Ah. All right. So to review this lesson real quick, the Constitution is a living document. It can be changed. It's not easy. It ain't easy, but it can be changed. And amendments can be added. And thankfully, America has woke up many times and made changes to the Constitution to make things right. Hopefully our country can continue to keep doing this, I hope. All right, I'm going to be posting this video in Lesson 3. There'll be a couple things for you to do, plus take a test on all of the unit. So just look through the Lesson 3 folder. It'll tell you what to do and what assignments are in there to complete the Lesson 3 and to complete the whole unit there. We've we've just accomplished this whole unit already. I'll put due dates in there for you. And until next time, this is Coach Eads signing out.